I've got a project for you, or for me actually, repairing this Duracell flashlight. It was given to me by my auntie, and I managed to kill it while experimenting with some different cells and whatnot. So I want to replace the XML LED, something a little bit more stock. I don't want to go crazy on this one. More importantly, it takes 4 C-cell batteries. Let's change the drivers so it could use rechargeable batteries, the proper voltage and all that. I think I only have to do the LED. I might have to do something with tailcap. Let's get this guy apart and see what we can do. Of course, the first stop is the workbench, taking this fellow apart. You can see the zoomy bits. This is just a basic economy of manufacturing type of light, built to a price point. It does have a nice spheric lens though. The LED was just kind of sitting there on a shelf on that pill. Here's the new LED, got a new basic 17mm driver, and let's get this guy rest of the way apart. Expedient's use of a hammer there, quite nice.
Hello. What you doing?
I'm making a video. At the lathe, checking up the LED pill, I'm making a tunnel right through here. I'm going to put in a nice big slug. So you saw the original, it had a huge air gap between the LED board and the driver board. I'm going to make that a big slug that I just dropped down into the lathe. Oh well, that does happen. I should say I probably don't need to use quite that much of the retaining compound. I went a little bit overboard on it. But the slug that I made, it is a tight fit, so it's just a little bit of added insurance. I'll clean up a little bit of this fujiness, and then our friend the tapping hammer to get this guy assembled. Then back onto the lathe, flatten things out, and I think I actually explained a bit more. So I'll let the shop work Daniel do the rest of the talking here. Solid slug that I could then drill out to hold the driver at the back, 17mm driver, pretty sure it was 7, and then put a rebate on the top to hold this smaller, MPCB. And this is a copper back. The original was aluminum, so this will have a big heat sink. Before there was an air gap between the back and the front. Now it's solid. Onto the lathe again once more for some final steps with the pill for holding the LED. I had to make a collar here so I can chuck up that assembly and work on both ends at the same time. And I think I just did that. How about that? This I had to find in a bargain bin at my LED supplier, but so same thing, 1/2 inch and mill to make a little pocket, widen it out with the boring bar. I've got to go. Working the front side of the LED pill here, making a pocket for the MPCB. I used the parallels to make it flat against the face of the chuck. It didn't all work all that great, but it'll be fine for what we're doing. That's better. Yeah, yikes, it's still hot. My intent is to drill a couple of pilot holes on each side, so at least I have a start and stop point, and then I'm probably just going to freehand the holes between the two. So let's see what happens. First test fit with this guy. Not too bad. I think I need to take it to the lathe and do a little bit more depth in that pocket. There, get in there. See, I'm trying to be a good steward and taking off
watches before I do lathe work. I don't always remember, but I am trying. Got a little bit of wiggle in there, but should be okay. Here's a proof of concept before we go too much further. So I've got this guy ready to go, the LED. Let's just sit it in there, make sure it's got power. So I've got super simple setup, basic battery, 4.2 volts, driver, and do the old touch test. Closing my eyes. Yeah, I'd say that's good. Woo! LED goes in, driver goes in, and then we solder it all together. This is some non-corrosive silicone, best for electronics. You don't want too much, just a dab. There. All right, I think we're good. All right, that is kind of a press fit. When it's all done, I will take a punch and peen this over. It holds the driver in place. That end is done. Okay, we actually got most of the Arctic silver to stay on there in place. Okay, that's better. It's a little pressure, and that's what we need. So from there, it is going to cure. Once it's cured, we'll continue with the assembly. I think I've got to do a little bit of polishing of these optics. They're a little bit grungy. Now we've got to cut these leads short. Get these guys in here. A note here, I do like to use silicone wires. I don't know that it actually gives you any benefit, but it is certainly better for heat. For soldering and holding wires down at the same time, I just put a little tiny notch in the end of this flat blade screwdriver. So this is purpose built just for this. We're done with the soldering gun. Just a bit of trim up on these wires. It snaps in place. Our system is now done. All right, I know this driver works. Let's put this together for, whoops, I need the zooming part. Now this goes in. Down. And let's do a quick test. These are just simple, cheap batteries, 1.2 volts each. So the driver I chose is capable of handling that. And overage, I like to build in some extra just in case. Now let's see if I have to switch on or not. Sometimes. So I had put this together and designed the driver and LED and all that for 4 cells. I think it was originally 3 cells.
Editor Daniel stepping in, saving our poor fellow because he starts rambling a little bit. I'm going to take this as the universe telling me I wanted to replace the switch in that with a modern switch anyway. As I found out during the breakdown, the driver is actually in the tail cap. I'm talking about the electronic switch there, and I can see a PCB board. So this is going to take a little bit more than I had originally planned. So, well, this project just got delayed by a few months, but that's okay. Because for you, it's right now. Let's continue and tackle this next problem. Get this guy up and running.
Oh, okay. Well, that was easy. I don't think there's any way to pry this out decently, so I'm just going to try to rip it out of there. I had to get a piece of plastic that is not meant to come out with a mill.
If I have not mentioned it before, I am creating this pill to house on my clicky switch. This is made by Don McLish and is one of the gold standards for forward clicky switches out there in the world. An awesome switch, and I really do like it. It's been around for many, many years.
We got it pretty well ripped up. Let's see what we can do. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Here we go. Empty tail cap. Hopefully my plan is simple. Make a block that wedges in place on this guy. And I've got some dimensions to work with and some stock. So let's get going.
Cueing the machining montage here. I believe this is prototype number 2. The function of it was pretty well, except that I made the same mistake at this one as I did the final prototype. I didn't make a plug so I could fit it in my indexer. I did have an expansion call out I used there, so it ended up being fine. But it is a reminder to not get too deep in the weeds. You still have to keep an eye on the overall project and the steps.
So the internal structure is made. It's holding the McClicky switch. There is a ring that this will sit against, but it has to fit inside and then expand out. So my best idea is running some grub screws on 3 axes to expand into it to hold it. Let's see what happens. Continuing the project for the Duracell flashlight refresh. Making a new pill for the inside of this so I can fit a McClicky switch so the batteries work. My first attempt, it didn't work well. Putting set screws through the top ring to hold it into this body, it's a good idea and I think it'll work, but my execution wasn't very good. So I'm gonna make a new one of these and we start again. I'm gonna make it in a format so I can stick it in my indexer to properly use this guy to accurately place where those set screws go. And I think that's going to be the secret sauce. So let's try it out. I'm going to get set up and we're going to do some machining.
Well, that didn't work either. So I think I'm on the prototype number 3. The good thing is I'm getting good at making these fellows. I think it is one small sign of maturity is if you realize you're fighting an uphill battle and you just got to cut your losses, grab a new piece of bar stock and try again.
All right, I do believe we're ready for threading. I got to make sure this guy will fit nicely.
And now onto my friend the spin indexer. This is such a fun little tool. Little 5C collets do what you need, and I got the expansion collet holding the pill in place. And it gets to rotate around 3-axis drill and tap for 440 screws. Time for tapping. What? No, this is the perfect way to do it. I do need to break down and build myself one of those really small handheld tap holders. This one works fine, it's just overkill for such a small 440 hole. A future project, certainly. I'm showing an alignment secret here, using a drill bit that I used for the hole in the hole to line up with the tap. Little follower going on, it actually worked out quite nicely, as long as you don't drop things. Back at the workbench for hopefully the final assembly. So I made a little doodad to hold this in the right height. And one of the iterations I discovered was using really, really short grub screws here. So I can install the pill and then put the McClicky switch in. That worked out much better than the previous option. With the 3 grub screws in place, final assembly into the actual tail cap itself. The tightening of those screws was impossible to film with it being some funky angles, so this is kind of the end result. And we're carrying on. McClicky switch is going in. I did get pretty lucky here. The placement of it was carefully measured, but still, you never quite know. The little nubbin on the rubber boot actually was the perfect height, so it didn't have to do anything funky. The McClicky switch worked as is.
There we go. Zoomies. Zoomies. Oh, that is excellent. I am so happy to see this. I am very happy to see this up and running. Ah, excellent, excellent, excellent. we are done. This was a pretty intense project, but I'm super happy that it's done.